Hello everybody and welcome live here to the Jeep. Hello everybody and welcome to round 10 of the GPVWC Formula Challenge. We're here today from the heart of British motorsport at Silverstone, which has been designed by one of our community members, Sean Stroud. So first of all, massive thank you for him to letting us use his work today. It's a splendid looking track and I'm sure it's going to be used very well as over 30 Formula Challenge cars will dance their way around to try and earn a victory. My name is Jenkins. I'll be calling all of the action for you here today. And it's going to be very interesting. We saw last week, of course, 2 weeks ago back at Turkey, a very intriguing set of sequences take place, which resulted in Gagzella picking up a one-race ban here today. He will be allowed to race in race number 2, coming up later. But for race 1, he's not here due to the contact with Pedro Mellin, which meant pole position went to Tom Jacobs, actually, in the United Racers team. We've got Darway Tapper, of course, the upstart from last week's last race's event, which saw a lot of fans maybe turn an eye to him. A lot of teams maybe thinking, okay, this kid's got talent. We've got Adrian McNaughton P3, Simic in P4 with Dave Fiddick, who also very conveniently placed, so he needs to pick up some points today if he wants to try and challenge for the title. It's his prime time to do so, with championship leader Gagzella not present, so he really does need to bring in some big points in this race. Paul Joseph P5 with Ari Neiman, the man who's closest perhaps to Gagzella, in P6. We've got Cameron Brewster in 7th. Ben Warren from Multi21 showing good pace there in P8 in front of Pedro Mellin in 9th position. And Harley Hamnet there rounds out the top 10 of the grid. We've got Matt Cliff in P11, Jack Nichols in P12, Mike Schroten in P13 and Daniel Leake with his teammate in 14th. The Edinus Engineering of Menno Kont rounds out the top 15 with Mikko Jakkonen in 16th. And Lewis McGlade starts in P17, William Neer on 18th, Matt Richards 19th and Mike Bell rounds out your top 20. The Optimum Motorsports car of Stock Soviet rounds out 21. Brandon Warren 22nd with Martin Palm 23rd. Tim Oliver Wagner in 24th for Velocity with Gary Lennon 25th. Dave Simmons 26th and Chris Williamson in 27th. Ron Squire makes his return in P28 in front of Ollie Woods in P29. Chris Parr in 30th. Jonathan Prevost in 31st place. Demetrius Siamanis in 32nd. And they round out our runners for today. So it should be a very intriguing session. We've got 7 minutes of warm-up here with traditional British weather expected. For now, though, in the warm-up session, the clouds are looking a bit clear. It's a blue sky out around the circuit. So hopefully the drivers can navigate their way around and join the race. They won't be needing to try and make that trip in for the wet tyres. But we saw in the qualifying, the practice session, the rain did come down a little bit. But it didn't play too much of a factor. So fingers crossed we encounter the same here again. There's a spin there as well. That was Wagner actually. So that's from P24. Again, just maybe trying to get all those mistakes out of the way. I believe that was on the run down into Vale. Yeah, that's coming out of the final corner. He's got it going again though, so no major harm done. It wasn't the final corner, I beg your pardon. That was the final corner of the old national layout of the circuit. But interestingly enough though, a lot of the drivers who are maybe looking quite competitive in this session haven't actually taken to the track yet. We've got Darway Tapper, for instance, sitting in P2, has not moved from his pit spot. Adrian McNaughton also not moving in his Storm Racing. So whilst we've got a few minutes then, let's just maybe take a look at the championship standings, especially in the constructors, because things have definitely heated up now. The gap between Storm and Simic is now just a mild 47 points, so it has come down. Simic are in hard competition. We've got Karyala in P3, so Ari Neiman are looking to try and close that gap even more. They're 188 points behind Simic. United Racers in 4th, Royal Blue in 5th place. Optimum are 30 points behind Royal Blue. We've got Edinus in P7, Tanksgarnen in P8 with Logic's Razor in 9th position. Then it gets really close there. You've got Waters Motorsport, Schroten and Fogel separated by just 3 points to round out your top 13. In terms of the driver standings, you've got still Manuel Gagzella leading despite maybe losing a huge chunk of that lead here today during the first race. We've got Dave Fiddick in 2nd, who starts from 4th on the grid, currently 146 points behind the leader. So he'll really need, as we said, to step up that game today, bring in the big points and hopefully challenge in race 2. We've got Thomas Jacobs, who moved up to P3 after the last race. We've got Ari Neiman, who's just behind in P4, just 5 points away. And Pedro Mellin, who newly stays in P5, 9 points away from what Ari Neiman's total is currently. Norton in 6th place, Whoopie Herkstra 7th, Gilmore in 8th, but Franz Schneider stays in 9th place. 10th place is Menno Klom, he's moved up and overtaken Paul Joseph, and they round out your top 10 for this championship so far. So a massive field of cars here today as well, all looking to try and expand their championship bids, make sure they get themselves noticed here. We're well over halfway in the season now, we haven't got too long left to go before we call it a close. We've got around 8 rounds left after this, so we're drawing to a close. We've got 5 minutes left in this warm-up session, and the times are starting to flood in thick and fast now. Pedro Mellin's currently the fastest man on the circuit, with Jonathan Prevost there in P2. He's currently 2.9 seconds away. Cameron Brewster on a 2:13, so it must have been a bit of a dodgy lap there for Cameron in the United Racers team. But United Racers, one of those teams which surprised us last time round in Turkey. They're again very competitive, starting to get those consistent runs together, so wouldn't surprise me to see them maybe take a podium here today. Trying to keep an eye on some of the drivers as well. We've got Harley Hamnet there for Viking Racing. He's currently sat in P11. He's out on the circuit at the moment, just trying to get himself some track experience for the team. Make sure all goes well. Just gone through Aintree Corner now and comes out onto the Wellington Straight, the first of the 2 main overtaking straights here at Silverstone. Very short in relation to Hanger though, which is where the drivers will be trying to make the very most of their overtaking opportunities and get alongside the cars and try and make a pass on the inside. Outside passes are possible here at Silverstone, but when you see them, they look absolutely spectacular because they're very difficult to pull off. Let's say Lewis McBride says, livery looking stronger than ever in that kind of pulsating livery. Oh, so and also currently joined in the commentary box again, this time by Lewis Redshaw. And Lewis, again, last time out of Turkey, very kind of series of unfortunate events for some drivers, but also saw some big surprises. Can we expect kind of the same here today?
Well, famously, the Silverstone circuit is not as good for overtaking as obviously the Istanbul one was. I mean, obviously you have got the Hanger Straight, even Wellington Straight into the Brooklands corner. I still think we'll see quite a fair bit of overtaking. I've been talking to some of the guys, and they're doing most of these corners flat in this car. So expect to see a lot of slipstreaming and a lot of position changes as we go through the 2 races.
Yeah, definitely. And with this amount of cars as well, as you said, Silverstone's notoriously known for quite challenging circuit to pass on. And when you've got a field like this, and we've seen in the past how aggressive these guys can get, and they can be side by side in packs of 4, maybe 5 cars all jostling around. Is there going to be some inevitable contact today, do you think, or will it all be kind of kept in a lid on things?
Well, considering this is Formula Challenge, I do expect quite a bit. Hopefully most of it will be clean, and you know what they say, rubbing is racing. But I'm sure we're definitely going to see a couple of moments where people try and go 3 wide into the Brooklands or Copse Corner, and it's not going to work out, just like when they went into Turn 8 side by side 2 weeks ago. So I expect we see a lot of that today.
Yeah, and there's only one way to find out now, so wait just 2 minutes until the end of this warm-up session. A lot of drivers now getting onto some of the straights on the circuit, the Wellingtons and the Hangers of the circuit. And this may be trying to practice their starts. Ben Warren there, sporting as a perfect example, just pulling his car over to the right-hand side and getting that practice start nailed. And even though you've got launch control, it's still quite important to try and make sure you've got that start 100% nailed.
Yeah, it is. I've been noticing, looking at the chat while we've just been broadcasting here, and a lot of people are struggling. They've selected first gears that may be quite long to help them through some of the slower corners at the end of the lap, and that's really affecting how they are going through their start procedure. Obviously, with a longer first gear, you're going to bog down more, so you're going to have moments where people are struggling to get going, and you're going to have some people that have got short first gears, and they're just going to fly off the line. We see it in all the other series, so there might be a bit of a nail-biting stuff at the start for some people who've gone for a longer gear than others.
And of course, talking to the start, you've got that all-important first corner, and we've seen many incidents there in the past few multiple series, but very tight apex, very fast corner. Are we going to see maybe a bit of contact through there, do you think?
In the Super League car, which is the only one I drive at the moment, it is flat. So I'm just watching some of these people. I believe it is going to be. So I'm sure they're going to try and go side by side into there. I think the main problem we've got to look out for is the loop corner. I think that's going to be where the most of contact's going to be, if there is going to be any, because that's the first real time since they start that they're going to slow down. Obviously they're still accelerating through the first corner, so there shouldn't be that too much there, but definitely for the loop I can see some contact.
I definitely agree with the loop as well. Of course, very tight. You got the right and left apex, and that brings you out handfully on the Wellington Straight. So again, another big opportunity for them, and that's where the circuit really does come alive. Then that's when the drivers can really kind of broaden their creativity and start spanning these moves. But at the early stage in the race, I think it's just going to be a case of the waiting game. You don't want to try risking too much because this circuit will punish you if you make a mistake.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sector 2 here is absolutely fantastic. You've got Cops, Maggots, Beckett's. It's one of the best sectors of a racetrack ever. So I'm sure they're going to have fun. Like I say, it's going to show their creativity, see if they can do it flat from the start.
Yeah, I completely agree. And 13 laps of this race then are about to get underway very shortly. Just wait for the drivers to assemble on their grid spots, and I've accidentally done that. There we go.
Oh god, what have you done?
I accidentally put my car on the grid, and I didn't realise I wanted to race today, so I was just making sure I got off as soon as possible.
Some new commentary where we do the commentating from the race itself.
Oh, I don't think that would last more than 3 corners,
No,
really.
it wouldn't.
So thankfully I'm not racing today, but one man who is, of course, is our pole sitter, Tom Jacobs. He sits on the front row of his grid today. His teammate sits in P6. Again, we said they're looking for a good start today. Let's see what they can do. As now he leads the field then through turn 1. He's got Tapper behind him. Adrian McNaughton sat directly behind him again. Adrian looking for some big points here today. Paul Joseph for Royal Blue in P4. We've got Ari Neiman in P5. Brewster in 6th. Ben Warren in 7th. Both Simic cars. Again, we can't separate these Simic cars. 8th and 9th. Same with the Waters Automotive there. 12th and 13th. And as looking through the field, it does get very tense. We've got some big names down there. He could play into an effect later on. We've got Jack Nichols, who you traditionally see fighting his way up the field, so entertaining battles there potentially. We've got Riku Sarpia, Scott Cervic, Dave Simmons, Ollie Woods down in 29th. We could see a big rise from him today.
Yeah, Ollie's one of those guys who normally does a bit better in the race than qualifying, so hopefully he'll be able to do that again and might even get pole position for race 2. That's what I'm hoping for him.
And we got a spin there as well, right from one of the Sky Motorsports guys. That was CM Arnis, I believe. He's got the car going again. Just a mild spin again, and typically it was at the village corner, ironically, so luckily got it going again. So hopefully we don't see too many of those during the race. Just get them all out your system in the warm-up lap. And we've got another one off. That's one of the Optimum cars.
Yeah, Scott Sovic's gone off in the Optimum, as you say. Let's bring it.
And got it going again, so maybe these tyres taking a bit longer to heat up than anticipated, and drivers maybe just trying to push a bit too hard, as Scott was, I think, trying to push his way back through the field there to a bit more of an aggressive extent compared to what he needed to.
Yeah, I mean, the formation lap is, even though it looks really simple, can be quite hard because you've got to warm your tyres up, warm your brakes up, keep your engine cool, you've got to make sure you don't hit anyone in front, make sure you don't get hit from behind. It can actually be one of the most difficult parts, and we've all done it, we've all spun on the formation lap. It's nothing to be proud of though. It's not really what you want.
No, definitely not. And if you take a look at the skies as well, they are looking a little bit grey. It shouldn't be anything to be concerned about, but there's definitely a hint of grey to them. Maybe a rain cloud, we're not too sure. We've got 30 minutes, so roughly I'd say about half an hour for the rain to decide if it wants to make its mind up and come down, or if it's going to let the drivers' mind at ease for a bit and let them have a dry race. But I'm sure as commentators we want to see as much action as possible, and it would spice up the racing, but these drivers I'm sure will be hoping for the complete opposite.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. I mean, unless they're further back down the grid, they'll probably want it to be dry for as long as possible in this race today.
So they can see the field then just spring back onto the pit straight then to start 13 laps of racing here at Silverstone there. The two Schroeting cars just appearing in the very background. The JLT, the Viking Racing, all of them lining up now as Tom Jacobs sits on pole position here at Silverstone. Question is, will he lead into turn 1? Will he lead when he hit the Wellington Straight? And will he be leading in 13 laps time when we come to the end of this race? There's only one way to find out, and that is to wait for those all-important red light signals, and then we'll get underway. So we're just waiting for the countdown now. The drivers on their grid spots. We've got two red lights. The eyes fixed on the lights. The heart starts to race. The feet slam down on the pedals. Right now we're away at Silverstone. A good start there by Tapper, I must say. Advantage to second place. You start on the inside line, and look what you get. He's taken the lead into turn 1. No fight at all from Jacobs. Not much you can do. Rest of the field swarm round. There's contact in the background, and there's a few cars off there. I think Matt Richards was one of them. He's got through. Who was it that's actually been taken off? I think it may have been Mike Bell's one of them, McGlade's one, Chris Parr another. But as they'll go through the village complex now, and it's looking a little bit tighter than we maybe anticipated. The drivers acting very sensibly at this early stage, but back at the very front of the field though, still Tapper leads, and now he's got a car off, and I think all hell is broken loose in the very background. There's a wheel in the air. Let's just try and take a look at what's going on there. That's one of the Viking cars who's lost a wheel. That's all not gone very well. I think that was Michael again who's been involved. Menoclon's right at the back of the field, but who are the drivers? The wheel who's actually been involved? I think it was William Neron's actually retired then, so that's our first retirement of the day. Okay, welcome back everybody to the GPVWC Formula Challenge here from Silverstone. Apologies for the technical difficulties, we hopefully have got them all sorted out now, but at the end of a very interesting first race, it was Dowie Tapper that took the victory after starting second on the grid. He led throughout the entirety, was never really challenged. However, Tom Jacobs finished just behind him in P2. So Tapper's had a very successful opening couple of races here in the GPVWC. I'm sure it's only going to get better now though. However, he will start from this new top 20 reversal thing, so we'll try and find that number. It's the top 19 in reverse then, who has been confirmed, so it will be Mike Bell that sits on pole position, and it will be our race winner Dowie Tapper who starts in P19. However, another curveball has been added to this race now, so we've got Manuel Gagzella is in the second race. Now I will start from right at the tail end of the field, however he is still present, so if the drivers haven't been able to maybe make the most of the opportunity and score the points they need to, then maybe now they're going to start regretting that, because they're going to have a very hard task of trying to hold back from, he's probably going to be a very hungry Manuel Gagzella. So you've got 8 minutes to go in the warm-up session then for the drivers, so warm up, warm down, whatever you want to call it, or depending on what your personal preference is, for these drivers to just get themselves back in the zone again and try and push their way back through the field during the second race. And again, there wasn't that many retirements actually during the first race. I think there were 4 overall, so overall very consistent race by most of the drivers there. I was expecting, honestly, a little bit more in terms of attrition rate.
One thing I noticed, Liam, from that race is there wasn't that much close wheel-to-wheel action. The field sort of started to spread out a bit from the get-go, really. Presumably this race, though, will have a bit more. Obviously, the faster guys are more towards the back, midfield. And then you've got some of the guys who finished in the point just at the tail end of it, starting on the pole. So it's going to be, this should be a better race. Hopefully this will be the one you wanted to actually watch. Not that all the races at GPVWC here aren't brilliant anyway.
And the second race always does throw up a curveball, and we have seen some surprise results in the past. And I'm sure, you never get what's going to happen at the front of the field when you've got someone who maybe isn't used to starting that far up and he finds himself on pole position. You've got a field of 30 plus cars behind you all desperately weaving around trying to pass you. It can bring out another side to a driver.
Yeah, it's being on pole, leading your first race on the formation lap, and then you get around to the start. You do get a lot of pressure. It's definitely worth more pressure than you get during, just starting 15th, for example. So there may be a lot of guys. We don't obviously know who's starting on pole yet. I don't think we've done the random number thing. Probably we'll do that in a minute. But it is always a lot of pressure if you are starting from the front on your very first race of your career.
Exactly it is. So we've got 6 minutes left of this warm-up session. A couple of drivers have ventured out onto the circuit. Pedro Mellin being one of them. He's just left now in the Simming Motorsports car, so just trying to get some maybe laps under his belt before this session draws to a close. And again, nasty grey sky showing up. It's not looking too pleasant out there at the moment.
No, it isn't. It didn't look too bad in race 1. It was cloudy for most of it, and then you hear Ollie Wood singing Here Comes the Sun, and it did, and it was sunny for the rest of the race.
Well, hopefully he sung the song and it wasn't out of tune, and we can try and keep this weather at stability so we don't see any light showers towards the end of the race. But if that comes, if you're a driver in the midfield and you want to try and get some points and the rain starts to come down with maybe 3 or 4 laps to go, is it worth staying out, or do you try and play the safe side and pit in?
It really depends on A, your driving skill, and B, how long's left to go. If it's the last lap, you just got to go for it. See if anyone does pit, and then you can hopefully pick up some positions. You've got to work out in your head how long it's going to take you to get that time back if you're on wet tyres and it's wet, because it might not be worth it. You might actually lose more positions than you gain. But I mean, if you have the skill and the drive to keep the tyre temperatures up, you can come around for a couple of laps before you really start to struggle.
Yes, we'll see if any of the drivers do make those crucial calls if the rain does decide to come down a little bit towards the end of the race. But for now, you've got 5 minutes left in the session, and the track seeming a little bit quiet. We've got, as we say, a few drivers out there, but no real sort of charge. There's no battles going on at the moment. Everyone is trying to maybe cool down after what would have been a very exciting race, very intense race for them, because especially towards the end, I think Ben Warren found himself in a very intense battle indeed for the final few top 10 positions, and it can get a bit tense here around Silverstone because the circuit is a very tight circuit in comparison to a couple others. Whilst overtaking opportunities are there, they're quite minimal in the terms that as soon as you overtake someone, there is a risk of being overtaken back again in the very next corner.
Yeah, there really is. There's a lot of that here at Silverstone. You mentioned you Warren there, Ben Warren. Also Brandon Warren on the last corner of the last lap gained, I think it was 2 positions to score the final point and finish 15th. So you can, them last couple of corners, you really can gain a bit, especially if it's the last lap and you're just feeling a little bit brave on the brakes.
And we'll see how adventurous these drivers are feeling as well. We've got 4 minutes now until the race switches over, and then we can see who is on pole position. I do believe it's Mike Bell who will be starting from P1. It's the top 19 that got reversed, meaning that Darway Tapper and Tom Jacobs start from both P19 and P18 on the grid respectively. And again, it's kind of a blessing or a curse, but we've seen here in the past with especially Emmanuel Gagzella, if you start that far back and you've got the pace to win the race, then you can sometimes claw your way up through the field, sometimes by the misfortune of others, but sometimes just through your own skill. I mean, can we see that again at Silverstone, or is this not the circuit traditionally where you're going to see a hard charger?
If you get a good start and you get a clean start and you can get around the first lap without damage, you can still, if you're Gagzella, you can still get into the points quite easily. But the best thing is when you've got people battling in front of you and they make a mistake and they slow down, you can just go straight past them. But it is very important to have a clean first lap here. It's first couple of corners really do dictate how your race is going to play out. If you get damaged, then you're not going to catch them. But if you can get through cleanly and gain some positions in doing it, you can have a really good result.
And if you've just joined us as well, you may or may not be aware Gagzella was not in the first race earlier due to having a 1-race ban for the contact he suffered with Pedro Melim at the Turkish Grand Prix. He got deemed a 1-race ban for that. He didn't appeal. It was a very respectful decision by him and the stewards. He's come back here for race 2, starts at the back of the field, and going into that first corner, as we said before, it's such a tight corner to try and navigate through, up in the run towards Loop and then Aintree and then getting yourself onto the Wellington Straight. He may find it very difficult in the opening few laps to maybe carve his way through the field like he has done in the past.
Yeah, I mean, he might have practiced on the server beforehand, just if he was behind a couple of cars, just saying, can we do a practice start? I want to see how I can get through turn 1 and 2. There's special lines you can take, obviously, that gain you more of an advantage into maybe turn 3 or turn 4. So he's a pretty good driver. I'm sure he'll know what the lines are to do that. So I'm hoping he can get through cleanly and provide us with some good entertainment as he comes back through the field.
He'll definitely be a driver to keep an eye on. Another one, of course, as we said, will be Tapper. We've also got a couple of other drivers who could very well be a factor. We said already Tom Jacobs, his teammate as well, will also be looking to maybe make an impact. Guys like Dave Fiddick for Simic as well, they need these big points here today. Fiddick's got himself a reasonably good starting position. We've got Chris Williamson maybe for Team Schroten. Again, Schroten you normally see up around the point sort of area, battling it out. Ben Warren again, maybe expecting a good second race from him. And Matt Richards, who knows? He didn't do too badly in the first race. We got Martin Palm there in terms of Ryan Niemanen's teammate. And we've spoken about Nieman in the past here, had a very strong start to the season, but Kajala's progress in terms of a team has kind of been halted a little bit over the past couple of races.
Yeah, it has. Don't know why that might be. Might not have had time enough to practice, or just everyone's got better. It can happen sometimes. Just want to put a big shout out to Ron Squire. It's his first race back. He was a bit unlucky in the first race. He tried to keep it clean, but he had a couple of collisions with other people. Not so much his fault. And then turned in a bit too early to Cox and got launched off into the grandstand. So I'm hoping he can have a better result on his return after his park from Melbourne. Hoping he can have a good race.
I was going to say, it's always encouraging when you fly off into the grandstand, isn't it? But
oh yeah, it's always a good moment when you're flying through the air thinking you're free. And
we'll see what he can produce during race 2. So
yeah.
44 seconds left in this session, and so we may see a couple of drivers now just practice starts. And talking of Ryan Niemann, he's got himself a little bit of company on track at the moment in the form of Menno Klon, and they're just going, Hammer and Tong is not. This is going to be interesting actually. To take a ride on board with Niemann as they go through that very tight complex. So you got Mackett's and Beckett's, and then just making your way through. I mean, almost a little bit of a tap there, and this is something we're going to be seeing a lot during the race. Just very close racing, because when you go through that complex at that kind of speed, you know, a lot of these drivers aren't really lifting until you go through the very end of it. So we're going to see a lot of bumper to bumper stuff, and drivers can't really get alongside there despite them desperately trying to weave around. It's just not possible.
Yeah, what you're really just trying to do there, if you are following another car, is just trying to get in a good position so that you can get a nice drive onto the long hanger straight to see if you can get past him there. You cannot really, unless you're incredibly good against a guy who's maybe not so good, get past there. So that's what they do. They try and line themselves up for a good exit.
And as you heard there from the infamous R-Factor engineer voice, we've got 13 laps of racing about to get underway, so a total of 26 laps. I was making sure I didn't embarrass myself there and say a complete wrong number of total over 2 races. GCSE maths, that's what it eventually good for. But Mike Bell will start on pole position, with Menno Clont, however, more vitally perhaps, starting on the inside line. I mean, is that the more enviable position here at Silverstone?
If you get a good start, it is. You've got the inside into the next corner, and then you can run wide into turn 3, and you've got the inside there. So it's not a bad position to start from. I wouldn't mind starting from there on Thursday, actually.
Indeed, so Menno Clont there, you can see, just pulls away. I think he actually pulled away in front of Mike Bell there, so maybe he's got other ideas going into turn 1. We got Jack Nicholls again. Now we see Jack, you know, race after race when he comes in, he always seems to catch a spotlight when he's in the battles, and always exciting to watch. You've got Matt Clip P4, Warren, as you said, Brandon Warren, nice push in the last couple of laps. Had a bit of contact earlier on, but made his race get into the final points. You've got Lewis McGlade, who I believe suffered a retirement at the start of last race, or well, he obviously didn't, but he started. Had a big spin, I believe, him and his teammate in the Levexian team. You've got Mebius P7, Gary Lennon P8, Martin Palm P9, and Mike Schroten for Waters Automotive in P10. We've got Cameron Brewster 11th, Ben Warren, as we said, going to be looking for another strong result there in P12. Adrian McNaughton, again, could be an underdog there, P13. Joseph and Mellin, 14th and 15th. Ari Neiman in 16th. Dave Fiddick, 17th. Tom Jacobs in 18th. Dawei Tapper in 19th. And they ran out the top 19, which got reversed, of course. Just outside there, and just narrowly missing out on the cut was Mikko Jakinen. Riku Sapi at 21st. Scott Sovic for Optimum in 22nd. Tim Oliver Wagner, 23rd, in front of Daniel Leake, who rounds out row 12 of the grid. Chris Williamson in 25th place, with Ollie Woods in 26th. He starts in front of Jonathan Prevost and Dave Simmons. Ben Willis in P29 in front of Siamanis and Matt Richards. They round out your top 31, with Ron Squire, William Neron and Lars Brugman. And more importantly, Emmanuel Gagzella starts from 35th position on the grid. So he's going to need a very, very big push going into the first couple of corners. 34 cars stand between him and his ideal result. Question is, are those 34 cars going to be more of a hindrance or a help? I'm right, they're going to be a hindrance. They want to try and get their own races underway, but who's going to be leading the run down into turn 1?
Yeah, it's a hard one. Do you let him through because he's faster, or do you give him a better battle and hope for a bit of airtime with us commentating? I'm pretty confident in Mike Bell's ability to pull away cleanly and get a bit of a gap before anyone comes and challenges him.
Yeah, so the only way to find out, of course, is to watch and just maybe see what takes place in a few moments' time. But one thing's for sure, Mike Bell in that Ice Cold Racing team will be loved in that pole position right now. He would love to take himself a victory here today at Silverstone. It's his home race, of course. He would love to bring it home. Menno Clont side by side as well. We've seen Menno in the past. Very, very interesting racer to watch. Very exciting. He's always intriguing, creative with his manoeuvres.
Yeah, he is.
A little bit aggressive, but I'm sure we can see his brighter side here today. And talking of brighter side, we've got Blue Clouds, as Ollie Woods was singing earlier.
Yeah, I'm sure he's probably singing it right now in the TeamSpeak server. Sharon we're missing out on that, but, you know, got to do it.
You have to make sacrifices in this position.
Oh, you do. Yeah.
That just has to be one of them.
Unfortunately.
But as the field line up on the grid, then we just wait for the rest of them to navigate their way around the final couple of corners. Mike Bell on the outside line. He needs a good launch here today. He needs to have mastered that launch and get himself ready for the run down into turn 1. If you can lead into turn 1, hold your line as you head in towards the Wellington Straight, then it should be all plain sailing from there, as Tapper proved in race 1. Is history going to repeat itself, or are we going to see a completely different scenario? There's only one way to find out as the rest of the cars navigate their way through. I think that was one of these Squire Motorsports cars has maybe overshot there. He's got himself lined up now as we have 3, 4, 5 red lights, and now the engines start to rev up and they bright the room up as Clont storms away. He's got a much better start, but Bell has done what Jacobs could not do in race 1. He's held the line into the first corner as the field will stream through now on the run in towards Village and Loop, and you can see the cars just swarm their way And there's not too much contact so far. It's all looking relatively clean as they make their way through. I can't see any contact. It's looking very clean. It's trying to eagerly watch it and kind of, it's very tense at times. You don't want to see any collisions at this early on in the race, but it's the next corner through the Wellington Straight and Aintree they come onto the link, and there we go. There's a spin. We got two cars, rear wings flying everywhere. It's a mirror of what happened in race 1, only much worse this time.
Yeah, it is. A lot of cars involved.
Cervix off. I think Neron was off.
One of the Storms.
Oh, we got a couple cars out now actually already. So Ollie Woods caught up in that one. So he won't be singing Sunshine songs now. I think it could be Bad Day by Daniel Powter maybe playing on his iPod. But
what a well done there, Liam.
We got Lewis McGlade there, 34th as well. I think it was Daniel Leake caught up in it. Williamson's missing a rear wing and seemingly driving a Formula Ford. Sarpia may have been involved, but back in the front of the field, it's still Mike Bell. It's Brandon Warren who leads now, I believe, and it's all going a bit chaos now. Where have the two leaders gone? Unless it could be a timing error, I suppose. Is it just my screen, or have we totally lost our two leaders? No, Menno Klont's down. Oh no, Matt Clip's gone spinning off. Menno Klont has lost his rear wing. So what has happened to Mike Bell's down in 24th position? He's fighting back there with that's Jonathan Provost's car just up in front, I believe. Clip's off in the wall.
Oh! They had contact the first part of Maggots, Klont and Bell.
I'm talking to contact. Bell's off again. He slammed it into the wall. Sorry to interrupt you. That was on the way down into Vale, I believe. That's coming out of Stowe. And luckily on the entrance to the pit lane, Gagzella's in the pits. So Manuel Gagzella must have been caught up in the incident somewhere along the line. He's got to P22, but decided to pit in. There's Menno Klont in there, Provost is in there, Matt Richards in there also. So a much more chaotic start to the race than what we presumed.
Yeah, and we've now got Martin Palm in the lead for Kajala Racing.
And just as we said that Kajala maybe went through a bit of a points draw, I think they're looking to prove us wrong now. Palm leads for the team, with Brandon Warren second for Rapid Raptor, Mebius third, and Jack Nichols fourth at the moment. Nichols provisionally actually got through there, I believe. He's trying to push it now. It's my timing again. This hasn't gone well at all, is it? So Warren's at P2. You got Palm pulling away actually through there. So he goes down the old National Pit Straight. He's made a very good run into Copse Corner. And as the rest of the field stream behind now has been much more shrunken downfield. I mentioned the attrition rate last race. You've already got the same amount of retirements already. Ollie Woods, Lewis McGlade, Matt Clip and Menno Klont all suffering retirement so far. Samanis is in the pit lane as well. Scott Cervix also in the pit lane. I think Daniel Leach just come out of it. So massive impact in terms of what we had racing here today, and maybe just the excitement getting the better of the drivers or the adrenaline a bit too much. But one thing's for sure, these top four drivers are providing a masterclass right now. I would hate to be in one of those cars because it's a very tense situation down there as they come back down in towards Vale.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the only position I want to be in right now is Jack Nichols in fourth. You can just keep an eye on what's going to happen in front. The leader's not too far away. You might be able to capitalise here.
I think Nichols got a bit of a better run now on Hansco Mebius as well in his arguably unmissable bright pink car. The run down into turn one, you really always going to go for a move. No thought better of that one. It's such a hard corner to judge what you want to do through there. If you lift, you lose momentum going in towards the village and then the loop and everything. But if you don't and you try to hit, you risk hitting their rear wing. If you go on the inside, you risk contact. It's one of those corners which require the utmost thought before trying to make a judgment. Now you've got to look behind as well because Nichols, because of that tiny error, Dave Fiddick has closed right up and Fiddick needs these points. Gagzella arguably may not score points here again, so Fiddick needs to be taking these big chunks out of Gagzella while he can.
Yeah, got Thomas Jacobs battling with Ben Warren into Brooklands. Jacobs is having a look at the inside. Brandon's giving a lot of room in the end. Oh, sorry, Ben's giving a lot of room. And they're still battling round now as they go through left field.
Yeah, and taking a look at Mikko Jakinen as well. You may fancy his chances. They go back onto the old pit straight once again. Jacobs firmly in the slipstream of Ben Warren now, but again, it's such an enviable position that Jakinen's in right now. He's just got to hopefully wait for the mistake to happen and capitalise on. Again, something very easy to do at Silverstone. However, when you're the car in front of Tom Jacobs, is Vesey, I'm not going to go side by side through Maggot. Surely not. But he's got to risk it anyway. It's a very ambitious manoeuvre. They almost touched. But a brave move there by Tom Jacobs. Very firmly paid off.
Yeah, it's not traditional parking space, overtaking space, sorry, but it worked for him this time around.
Biddix as well, making a move on Jack Nichols there. That is on the inside into Stowe. They go round there and he may have got a bit wide. Nichols going to have the cutback. Be on the outside there when he comes into Vale. He's going to have to be very careful. And he's almost run out for road, but he's going to try it anyway. And he's going to lose out the cutback though. He's tried to cut back across early, but he's just lost all that momentum. So Fiddick moves up a position and finds himself in P4, chasing down Hansko Mabius and the Brandon Warren battle, which has been raging on for quite some time now. The front three separated by no more than 1.6 seconds at this stage.
Yeah, it's pretty close at the front, which is what we'd like to see. Just in Run Squire pitting. And Gaxella is up to 24th place, so he's last of the actual runners at the moment.
And Rikus RP has had a bit of an off there as well in P21. That's allowed William Neer on through. He was trying to battle with Adrian McNaughton there as they came through the final corner, but it was just not going to happen, unfortunately. We've had another couple of retirements. Michael and Scott Cervic joined the crew, unfortunately, back down at pit lane. And they, unfortunately, will be watching the rest of this race from their pit box. And Menno Clont has also, as we say, retired. He's just left the game officially now, so no more racing action for him this afternoon. But just trying to keep an eye on what's going through the midfield, especially because we've got both United Racers teammates together 11th and 10th. And Tom Jacobs, very good start. Started 18th, he's now up to P10. So that could not have gone better for him. And Dowie Tapper, in fact, I'm not too sure what's happened to his progress, actually.
Yeah, he's down in 17th place. Big gap in front, big gap behind. So not sure what's quite happened to Dowie there.
So not the ideal start he wanted. As we say, it's very difficult to pull off a so-called Gagzella here and push your way through the field. And I think Gagzella's proved that himself now, because he finds himself all the way down, just trying to battle his way through the very, very rear end of the field here. He's currently P23, and he's got a very big gap to the cars in front and behind after suffering that early pit stop. So, again, maybe it could be another non-point score here for him. We'll have to see what happens, though. So, we're almost a quarter of the way through the race here at Silverstone. Still Martin Palm leads as he starts another lap. 0.6 seconds back is Brandon Warren, then Mabius, who's just around 4/10 away from him. Then Dave Fiddick, Jack Nichols, who's now being slightly pressured by Schroeton as Nichols goes a bit wide through turn 1. Very easy to do. And he's going to lose quite a bit of time now as they go through the loop. And as the leaders make their way onto Aintree, and just look how close they're getting. Fiddick's getting all over the back of that bright pink car of Hansko Mabius onto the Wellington straight, and he may just fancy his chances. Let's just see how vital this slipstream is then. Is he going to look to the inside now? I think he may do. He may have to brake severely later, and that was never going to work. There just wasn't the room there as the corner tightens up at the end. And Fiddick's left just vying for more as Brandon Warren goes a bit wide, bit of a tap from Mabius, and the chain reaction allows the Simic driver to pull right alongside. Could not ask for a better response from that for Fiddick. He played that absolutely beautifully and moves up to P3.
Yeah, you just got to take them chances when they come, really. A couple of guys in front of you have contact, you've got to go up the inside and just hope they see you.
Nichols goes wide again as Schroeton maybe just feeling very confident right now. It's just all about those mind games, and each mistake he makes will just be slowly creeping up the back stairs. And of course, Schroeton's 2 seconds clear of Ari Neiman and Gary Lennon. Also in P8, good run there by the Scotsman. Tom Jacobs P9 at the moment, looking to try and take that from him though. In the United Racers team, they're now separated there, the two United drivers, by Pedro Mellin. He finds himself in the top 10. He's not too far away from the battle we were just talking of. As Jacobs opens up to the inside, that's going to be a very straightforward manoeuvre, I think, as plenty of room was given by Gary Lennon as he tries to get the cutback. And I don't think he's just going to get it, though, into Vale. No, that was not going to happen, and that's allowed, again, Mellin to come right back up. So, all about trying to take the opportunities here, as you said, Lewis, and seemingly the Simming drivers are doing quite nicely at the moment in terms of doing that. Yeah,
they're pretty good guys, them in Simming, so I'm sure they've had plenty of experience of trying to come back through the field before, so it's playing.
Talking about the inside, there it goes. Oh, it's a big move there by Fiddick on Warren, and someone made it sick, and now maybe his fancies a bit of that. And as they're going to cut through the loop now, and that's going to be side by side. He's run out of road, and a very swift shut at the door there by Brandon Warren was asking, you know, maybe if you want to unlock the door, you're going to have to try and find the key I've thrown away, because he's not getting through there in a hurry. Warren was not keen to lose more than one position. Gagzella, though, is on a charge, showing he hasn't lost his speed despite his low starting position. A 1:44.5 is the fastest lap, and Palm went wide there, actually. Our race leader, and again, Simic now up to P2. Could we see potential Simic victory here, or has Palm got enough to see it off? We've got, I'd say, approximately halfway through the race now. Almost there. We've got 8 laps to go, so little bit until we hit the halfway mark, but the driver's really starting to get into that rhythm now, and that's so important when you're at this stage. You've got to find that balance between aggression and consistency, and if you can't find it, you could see yourself in trouble. As Mellin trying to move through Magnussen. They're still side by side. That's Mellin and Lennon there. with Jacobs watching on, and they're still battling away. Lennon, as we said, was reluctant to give it up. But Jacobs has already passed these guys. I think his teammate may fancy that as well. Cameron Brewster, P11. Let's see what he can do now. Will he go up the inside into Stowe? Yes, he will. Melim's there as well. I think he's carrying a bit too much momentum. He's got to watch out for Melim. On the outside there, you can see that was Gary Lennon trying to get the cut back. A very favourable manoeuvre, but he just did not quite have the speed to do that.
Felix in the lead.
So let's just try and seek a look how that's happened then. So that was going into Stowe.
Yeah, got a better run down the outside. Nice move. Very good job. Go around the outside of Martin Palm, sorry, like that. Good job.
As you said, you know, it's like outside passes can work. Killer, it's very risky, and Fiddick is just taking this in his stride right now. He's in the lead, he's passed a few cars already. But that top 10 battle is looking extremely heated behind Brandon Warren. There's a pack of hungry dogs almost there. You've got Nichols bringing Schroten, then you've got Niemanen and Jacobs. Then you've got Mellin, Brewster, Lennon, Warren and Paul Joseph all in very close proximity.
That's the word.
It was a nice word. I think I could reinvent it.
I like
As
it.
Warren pushes his way down, and he's again made some nice progress. So we've got a DNF. That is Oliver Wagner.
Yeah,
and what's happened there to poor Tim? That's coming down the new pit straight into turn 1. Oh, he's collided with William Neron on the Viking Motorsports. He's gone up the inside, and Wagner's cut across, maybe not realised. Gone spearing off into the gravel trap, and a massive shot into the barriers.
Yeah, it's a classic case of just not seeing him, or just not having the mirrors on, or something like that, and it's just one of them things. You just got to go over it as quick as you can.
And you can see just Tom Jacobs and Niemanen also getting very up close and personal there over P7. But cars all over the place there as they come down the straight. That's Mabius trying to defend, I believe, at the moment, off of Brandon Warren. So Mabius, again, is not short of the spotlight here today for WCS Racing. Brandon Warren eager to add another good result to his run at the moment. And it's looking fairly strong for him right now as they go in towards that chicane again. Through Club Corner, and you just got to wonder how much momentum has this man got. No, that's not Club Corner. Yes, it is. Sorry, I was just got confused with the old pit straight there. As Niemanen's trying to hold off at the moment. I don't think he'll have enough though. As Jacobs moves up to the inside, and that should be a given into turn 1. Indeed it is. There's not really much Niemanen can do there except to try and vie for that bite back in a couple of corners time. That he's going to do. He's up the inside, and that was always going to end in certain contact. Luckily he broke away from the move, and as they swing left again and get ready to run through the link onto the Wellington straight. He just needs a better run now. He needs more tarmac to try and get up to speed. And talking of speed, look at the battle just up in front. That's Schroten and Nichols. That's been brewing for quite some time. As Schroten finds himself now around the outside. It's a bit of a risky move through there. And Nichols holds his ground very nicely. Schroten desperately trying to duck back underneath, but he's gone way too wide to make that happen, I think.
Yeah,
and that's Williamson moving out of the way, just trying to... I would be a bit worried now if I was Williamson. There's a lot of cars coming very fast and very aggressively.
Yeah, Chris is... this is going to sound horrible. He's pretty used to having to make sure he's polite to all the guys that are leading. He's really pretty clean, so I'm sure he'll be alright.
Very difficult part of the circuit to navigate traffic as well when Nichols is experiencing that first hand. Schroten's gone up the inside, and you do not get more opportunistic than that. Nichols is still there, but out of nowhere. I think that's got to be a overtake of the race so far.
That was absolutely awesome. We'll replay that.
Nichols is biting back though. He's trying to go right back up the inside into Stowe. Little bit of contact there, nothing too major. Just brushing paint side, and this still rages on. Schroten gets the cutback, makes it work perfectly, and leads the run into Vale. He needs to try and focus now on Brandon Warren, as opposed to what's behind him as Nichols desperate to get that position back. Back through Club Corner they come again then, onto the pit straight. 5 laps to go here, and Schroten, 2 very impressive passes there. We said that Waters Automotive car could be looking strong, and I think Mike has definitely proved a point with that.
Yeah, obviously a bit unlucky for Jack in the traffic, but that's just part of racing. You've got to deal with it, and you've got to try and do the best you can, but that was an absolutely awesome move from Mike.
And Nichols is not surrendering lightly either, a bit of a twitch there. Then that may allow just a bit more of a slipstream to happen if he can get up to speed, but I think he's a bit too far away for anything to happen just yet. As is actually maybe it's from Palm. Martin Palm has pulled away quite the gap now. He's actually it's about a second and a tenth clear of Hansko Mabius at the moment, but Dave Fidder, talking of a gap, 3 seconds clear at this stage, and David's just been pulling away, eking out those seconds, and since that move on Palm through Stowe Corey, he's just never looked back really. He just pulled away into the sunset, and I say sunset very loosely, as the grey clouds are still looming here at Silverstone, but Dave Fiddick is seemingly having the ride of a lifetime right now.
Yeah, once you get into the lead and you've worked your way through the field, you're generally quite quick, so you just do the best, take your marks and pull away as quick as you can.
His teammate also having a very nice battle at the moment with Ben Warren for Multi-21. Pedro Melim's all over that back end of him as they go through now, try and get in towards. Very, very important straight now, of course, the hanger straight. This is where it's going to be most favourable for Pedro Melim. He's going to go to the inside as Warren makes his intentions clear. Moves to the outside. Up the inside comes Pedro Melim, and that's surely going to be a given. Warren's trying to fight him for it there with everything he's got, but leaves plenty of room. Very respectful driving there by the Brit.
Yeah, I've also got Darry Tapper battling with Paul Joseph, and he goes up the inside. Good move.
Great stuff there as Ari Niemanen comes under pressure now from the outside, and you surely don't want to try and pass her into turn one. Niemanen almost forces a run out of road there for Tom Jacobs, and Tom Jacobs having to lift off severely. I think that was a little bit of cheeky, dirty play there by Ari Niemanen. He just desperately wanted that road and a pass around turn one as Nichols goes a little bit wide. Niemanen may punish him for it. You can see he takes a much wider line going into the link. Tries to flow through it now. He's trying to go around the outside. Again, wasn't going to work. Gagzella, though, on the pace does another fastest lap. But at this stage in the race, he's got 4 laps to go. He's currently P17, so he is making progress. His teammate's next up on his hit list.
Oh.
And that's currently a good 13 seconds away.
Nichols contact with Niemanen. Nichols went wide, they came back on, and they're close together now. As they make way out of left field.
And side by side, and look at Jacobs as well. He would love to make it 3 wide.
Oh,
and Nichols tried to shut the door. He did not want that to happen. That would surely end in tears for maybe all 3 parties right there. Oh. But for now, they're so close. It's almost like they're bomb dropping there as they begin to run. And now look at that. Bruce has gone through.
Oh, God.
Tremendous stuff. So both United Motorsports drivers have got to be so careful of each other right now. Not very well them being in the points and that consistent. But, there's contact.
Oh.
They hit each other. I think that was a bounce off Niemanen, and he spins round, and Brewster's race has come to a sudden halt. He's charged through the field. He's lost the rear wing. And unfortunately, that little Formula Ford of what it's become now is making his way down the hanger straight and aimlessly trying to get back to the pit lane. Ben Warren holds on against Joseph. There's a car, it's the other one. That is the other United Motorsports car taking a tumble. So 2 rear wings lost in a very few succession of corners. He's gone straight off into the pit lane. His teammate's surely going to follow suit. But wow, that was a very exciting couple of corners.
Yeah, not a good lap for United Motorsports there. That was not United Racing Motorsports, sorry. That was not a very good lap for them, definitely. But good battling though.
Oh, and Leonard's got the inside of Warren, and that was almost a spin there for Leonard. He did very well to hold on, but Warren's lost his front wing. And I'm not too sure if that was because of the incident. Let's take a look. I think he's lost that prior to that, actually. So either way, though, he's decided not to pit. I mean, he's still fighting for those lower end points. You're going to lose too much time at this stage, I think. Still got the pace, just a loss of downforce, I think. And he's unfortunately had to surrender a place to Gary Leonard. The next man behind him is around 9 seconds away, so he may be okay here to try and get away without pitting.
Yeah, this is what part of the thing comes in again. You've got to work out if it's better to pit or not to pit. And this late into the race, I'd stay out and just see if you can make it work.
And now we've got blue skies here at Silverstone, so Ollie will be singing his joyful song once again, which again, unfortunately, we're missing, Lewis. And it's one of those curses of being a commentator. You can't win everything in life, and I'm sure one day when he wins the X Factor with it, we can all experience it.
I do hope so, as we got Mebius and Martin Palm. They were really close a minute ago, but Mebius just made a little bit of a mistake over the curves, went a little bit too far over, and now fallen back a bit. But this is going to be a battle that's going to rage on for the remaining 3 laps of this race.
Yeah, and talking about the battle of raging on as well, it does not get more angry than this. Nichols defending. It's a gaggle of cars, Neiman and Melim, and you've got Tapper there as well. Tapper's made a giant climb through the field, and he's side by side trying to push his way through Pedro Melim there on the run down, and it's going to be very close indeed. There's 4 cars there.
Oh, God.
Trying to jostle around. It's getting so hectic. And it's almost like trying to cross a London street blindfolded while it's a green light. It's just not going to go well for you. Then Nichols is, he's off, and there goes both cars. And Nichols streams back across the circuit. I'm not too sure he was at fault there, but one thing's for sure, Harry Niemanen has come off worse. As he spins the car around, slams his rear wing against the barrier. Almost like that car was in a strop for a moment as he gets it going again, but unfortunately for Niemanen, that was a good race. Unfortunately, just gone to waste.
Yeah, him and Nichols were battling really hard, and neither of them were giving each other any room, and they just sort of made contact and spun Niemann and Nichols around, which is a shame, but it was good racing up until then between them.
We've got a massive form of retirements as well here. It's a good 10 cars, I'd say. So we'll keep you updated on those right at the end of the race. But for now, I think we want to try and keep our eyes on the action on the circuit, because we've got Hanske Möbius says only around a couple of tenths away here from Martin Palm.
Yeah, he is. Dowie Tapper as well is battling with Pedro Menem, who's managed to make his way up to 6th in all that travesty that was going on. So good comeback from him. I hear he's having a couple of problems with getting the car working here, but Tapper's now looking really quick as Menem went wide.
Indeed he is, and that's looking a bit closer as he tries to chase down Pedro Menem. He's got to be careful. Paul Joseph as well. Good run there for him in P8. And Jack Nichols still going there, but P10, he's around 3 or 4 seconds away from Gary Lennon last time round that sector. I think he's evidently got some damage to the car.
Möbius and Palm getting really close again. They're just a couple of them making mistakes, each going between the two of them, but they're getting closer.
And let's see what Möbius can do then as he comes back down the start-finish straight. Will he look to the inside? It's a little bit risky. He's going to try it anyway, though. To be at the top of your game, you need a big risk, and that's definitely one worth taking. And so both cars stay on the circuit. The big runoff area was not used as Martin Palm holds on to his position for a little bit longer. Question is, though, final lap now. Can he hold on enough? So Möbius stays behind him in that bright pink Smarty car that's trying to chase him down. He has been all raced, done a very good job of it as well. But it all comes down to this, not too long to go, under 3 kilometres. Can Palm hold on? Because if he doesn't, Möbius is there, and if Möbius messes up, Brandon Warren could be the underdog to pick up the pieces and put back together a lovely podium finish.
Tapper's got past Menem. They were battling away through turns 1, 2, 3 and 4, and I don't think this battle's going away either, so we'll keep an eye on both of them, hopefully.
Yeah, Menem locked up there as he tried to attack Tapper. Jakinen and Lennon also scrapping it out on the circuit as well. Lennon desperately trying to push his way through. That could be the move he needs. He couldn't quite get the momentum he desperately so sought for there, but back at the front of the field, let's look at Möbius as he looks to the outside. It's a very risky move through there, and he just, again, thought it's slightly better of it. This is going to be realistically one of his last chances then to make the move. Coming down the hanger straight as he got the slipstream that he so desires. Coming into Stowe Corner, it's kind of now or never. It's either here or Vale, and he's got a delightful run. Is it enough to make a move? He jolts to the inside, and it should be signed, sealed, delivered. And in your post box, question is, has it got a first class stamp? No, and still he tries to bite back here, and he's got to jump back up the inside again. He's got it all wrong, and he can't quite get it done. Möbius holds on, but it's a win for David Fiddick here for Semming Motorsports. A delightful victory. He'll be elated with that one. Möbius in second, Martin Palm P3. Rapid driver Warren picks up P4, very close behind Martin Palm there. Mike Schroten P5. Dowie Tapper holds off Pedro Menem in P6. So that was very close between those guys at the end. Paul Joseph 8th, 9th place Gary Lennon, 10th will be Mikko Jakinen, 11th Adrian McNaughton when he comes across the start-finish line, 12th place there for Emmanuel Gangzella. So, 11th now, I think he's just overtaken.
11th.
So Gangzella's
McNaughton.
I see, so then you got Warren there 13th who got there in the end, but what a run by both Storm drivers. They finished together, but Gangzella, who started from 35th on the grid to get to 11th, that's nothing to be shied at.
Jacobs just made up a position, I think, on the last lap. No, it wasn't. He just lost. They were battling with Neron and a bit of contact in the last corner, but they've got through cleanly.
Yeah, so Jack Nichols rounds out your top 14 with Neiman just behind, William Neron 16th, and Jacobs, as you mentioned, in P17. He finished in front of Dave Simmons as he crosses the line, and Ron Squire is going to pick up a top 20 here today, so 19th place for Ron Squire. He'll be delighted with that. But I know Bruce is going to challenge him though towards the end, and it's, he couldn't quite get there.
Good job. Yeah, nice job from Ron Squire, that 19th on his race back. You can be happy with that.
And Daniel Leake 21st, Jonathan Prevost 22nd, Chris Williamson will be 23rd, and then we've got our list of retirements, which is almost like a spreadsheet there. We've got Riku Sarpia, Ben Willis, Tim Oliver Wagner, Matt Richards, Lars Brugman, and Mike Bell, Scott Servick, Demetrius Tiamanis for Squire Motorsports, Menno Klon for Edenis Racing, Matt Clipp, Lewis McGlade, Ollie Woods, and I believe, that's it. So, what a race that was, though. Despite the high attrition rate, we saw some very close and very fair racing at the front of the field today.
Yeah, we did. A couple of battles. I knew we'd have a couple more in race 2, but we really did. That was really good at close racing. Shame about a couple of incidents, but you're always going to have that around a track like Silverstone. You know, it's got long, tough corners, and like I say, nearly flat out, so you're always going to have a little bit of body contact, but it was relatively clean.
Yeah, indeed it was. So it looks like that's the end of the race. We'll try and see if any drivers are going to pop down for a quick interview to share their thoughts on what they've just experienced. And maybe hear from the drivers who are right in the thick of the action as well, because there was plenty of it on the circuit, and just hear their personal views on maybe who's in the right or wrong when it comes to a collision, or who maybe got the better of who out on the racetrack. So, I mean, while we wait for that though, Lewis, I mean, if you had to pick one driver throughout both races today who's maybe shone through the grey and gloomy sky, who was it? Who's your driver of the day?
Oh, that's that. I was hoping you weren't going to ask me that one, then, but I think it's. I'm going to say, if I'm just talking about race 2 alone, it's going to be Mebius for me, or maybe even David Fiddick. Both of them drove brilliantly. But I mean, we've had some great battles. I mean, Brandon Warren, you could put in there. Schroten, you could put in Tapper as well. You could. The whole top 15 who've scored points today have really put on a good show with their overtaking and trying to get back through the field. And obviously, you put a big shout out to Gaxella, who's come back to 11th after starting last. That's a really good job.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'll have to agree with you, though. It's so hard to actually kind of pick a driver to say, right, you performed spectacularly there. There were a few notable performances. One of them, in fact, is ready for interview, I believe.
He is. I'll drag him up.
Let's see. So, I believe we're currently joined by Brandon Warren. Are you with us?
I'm here.
So, Brandon, I mean, what a second race that must have been for you. Just talk us through your thoughts.
I didn't expect myself to be up there. I wasn't very confident going into this race. Going into the second race, I was just thinking it was going to be just like Istanbul and try to consolidate. But then I realized halfway through the race, hey, I might have a chance. So I thought that podium I was talking about was gonna happen, but it didn't at the end. But it was so close. So I'll have to get it next time. But I'm feeling pretty good. Very, very confident right now. Just got the right setup with the car that was able to conserve the tires throughout the race, so I didn't have any problems in the high-speed corners, and that seems to be the place where I was catching everybody at. So, yeah, it's a work in progress, but I think I might be able to get that podium before the end of the year.
I was going to say, you were so close to it as well at the very end, and you really did push with everything you had. Was there a time when you felt the pressure really on to try and defend your position and maybe attack for more?
I was pretty much by myself. There's times where I was going to attack and then pressure, but now I was the part where I was actually passed and I had to give up third. I mean, he was faster than me the whole time. I forgot it. I didn't know his name was a pink car. That's all I knew. And he had the right pressure on me at the right times, and he got past. It was just a lapse of concentration for me, but I thought I'd be able to keep up with them. I thought they would make a mistake, but I was just saying I probably should have been right on them in the past 4 laps instead of waiting till the end to get myself up there. It was really close. I didn't expect myself to close in like that, but no, it was fun. It was fun. Not that much pressure, but it was a drive of confidence, I guess.
And so, one final question. Obviously, in 2 weeks' time, we head over to Italy for the Monza Grand Prix. What are your thoughts on that circuit? Do you think that could be the race where you get your podium?
Well, being American, it has less turns, and they're not as complicated. So, yeah, I think I can get that podium. Just driving on the straights, I just have to put the lead foot in and pedal the metal sort of thing. But no, I'm pretty good at that track, or at least I like to think I am. So, I won a championship there a couple of years ago. So, we'll see what happens.
Okay, well, thanks for your time, Brandon. We'll let you go and cool down now, and we'll see you in 2 weeks at Monza.
All right, thank you.
And I believe Lewis has found someone else in the paddock.
Yeah, Dave Fiddick, our race 2 winner. Dave, it was a great job there today. Once you got past all the guys in front and got into lead, it looked pretty plain sailing from then on.
About time, finally winning in this league. It took a while, man.
They did.
Yeah, I thought I messed it up last week. I didn't realise you had a last race, rather. I passed people down the pit lane in qualifying. I got a grid drop, so I thought my one and only chance, and I've blown it already. But no, I got past people quick in race 1, got up to 3rd, but the top 2 was just so quick. I ended up with 10 litres more fuel as well, so I kind of messed myself up twice there. But race 2, yeah, I couldn't believe how quick I got past people and finally got in the lead and looked back, and I think I saw Jacobs in 7th or 8th, and I was like, is this display right? Am I first? What's going on? But yeah, pulled out a 5-second lead, I think, and then looked after the tyres last couple of laps, and yeah, man, I'm buzzing.
Yeah, it's great to see new winners and first-time winners in GPVWC, and like I say, you did it very convincingly today, so you can enjoy it on the broadcast later, overtaking manoeuvres. I believe we've got a couple on there.
I'm always nagging Dave for them, so yeah, I'll be enjoying it.
Was there a particular favourite move you pulled today?
Oh my goodness. Race 1, I got a couple of people into Stowe, and then race 2, I got the leader on the outside of Stowe, I think.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
we played that.
But while I'm here, I just want to thank Ben Warren for help with the setup this week. He is just, he did an amazing job helping us out. I was off the pace till literally a day ago, and sent us a set, and it's all down to him. So thanks, Ben.
Thank you to you, Dave, and I believe Liam, you've got someone else now.
I do indeed. So currently joined by race 1 winner and man who charged you the field in the second race, Derry Tapper. So first of all, congratulations on your race win, and how was your weekend overall for you?
Not too bad. Well, I mean, race 1, the decider actually happened in turn 1 with me pulling past Thomas Jacobs, but he really kept the pressure on for about 10 laps. In the last few laps, he fell back. I think it was due to tire wear, but my God, he really put the pressure on, and it was fun to keep in front of him. But race 2, I don't know what actually happened with Malim. I think I was on the outside of him when going into Maggots and Baggots, and somehow he nudged me on the back, and I was sent flying off into the gravel trap, hit the wall, got a bit of damage, but overall, looking back at it, I got a clean fight back to the front, albeit with some incidents happening right in front of me, which scared me out. I thought that might as well be an end of my race, but I got past in 6th in the end, so happy overall.
I mean, I was going to say, race 2, you started from P19, which is quite a daunting task in this reverse grid thing. So you start right in the heart of the pack. You somehow survived all the carnage at the end and got yourself into a very handy battle. So, I mean, can you take away all positives from this weekend? Was there anything you maybe weren't so happy about?
Well, maybe I need to be less aggressive next time around. I mean, that might be the cause of the nudge with Malim. I might have wanted too much, but overall, I mean, as I said, it was a good race. Maybe a bit less eager.
Okay, awesome. So, obviously, 2 weeks' time is the Monza Grand Prix, and you've made a very successful name for yourself so far in the GPVWC. You're looking to try and continue that success in Italy?
Yeah, if there's a possibility, sure. I mean, why not?
Okay, brilliant. So, thanks for your time. We'll let you go and chill out now, and we will talk to you in Italy.
Certainly.
Okay, so I think that's just about everything now, isn't it, Lewis? So, final thoughts on what's been a very chaotic and very exciting weekend.
Once again, we've seen some great racing all the way throughout the field, not just at the front, but also towards the midfield and the bottom end. So it's always great to see that in Formula Challenge. Hopefully, we can continue that in Super Cup and Super League on Wednesday and Thursday, respectively. And I'm looking forward to doing Monza.
Brilliant, as am I. So, from us here at the Formula Challenge, that's just about everything here today. Don't forget, you've got 2 more very entertaining races on the cards for you. The Super Cup and the Super League. They're coming up all this week, so you don't want to miss those. But from myself, Liam Jenkins, and my co-commentator, Lewis Redshaw, we will see you in 2 weeks' time for the international, the Monza Grand Prix. We'll see you there.